as the number of immigrants arriving at the U.S. southern border remains on pace to be the biggest in 2 decades. We sat down with asylum seekers who've arrived in the tri-state in the past couple of years to speak about what's driving this most recent migration.
It's a difficult time, especially what happened about for the kids in this moment.
Fabian Arias is a pastor at St. Peter's Church in Manhattan. He helps the asylum seekers as their cases play out in court.
I understand his intention, the Biden intention, to say welcome everybody for the Latin America. But now we had a disaster in the border.
Diego Rodriguez arrived as an unaccompanied minor back in December of 2018. He currently lives in the Bronx after being released from an ICE detention facility 2 weeks ago. He was held for about 30 months. He told me it took him 15 days to make the journey from his native Guatemala to the U.S.-Mexico border.
No have food over there, no good job, no nothing.
In the summer of 2019, we traveled to the Northern Triangle region of Central America, where we saw firsthand how gang violence, poverty, and climate change are driving people out of their home countries of Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador.
There is a sense of desperation that these families will not survive.
The number of migrants at the border seeking asylum has skyrocketed, 172,000 in March alone. Compare that to the last surge in March of 2019, when 103,000 were processed by Customs and Border Protection. Last year, at the height of the pandemic in March, only 34,000 migrants were processed by CBP. About 6 in 10 immigrants are expelled under Title 42, an emergency order still in effect from the Trump administration, which allows the U.S. government to expel immigrants due to the pandemic. President Biden has added an exemption for unaccompanied minors.
The goal of ORR, the Office of Refugee Resettlement, is to identify those willing adults, do a cursory background check to make sure that it's a safe placement, and then reunite.
Anu Joshi is the vice president of policy at the New York Immigration Coalition. She believes Title 42 should be reversed in its totality to allow family units to also remain.
Many people who are coming to our southern border, adults specifically, are just being flatly turned away.
Latino immigrants have historically been the target of discrimination. 4 in 10 Latinos experienced discrimination, according to the Pew Research Center, from being called offensive names, being told to go back to their home country, and criticized for speaking Spanish in public.
These are people who are just trying to take care of their families, and that's how we should treat them.
Inside this home in Hudson County, New Jersey, there are about a dozen asylum seekers living together as they work to get on their feet. They've all risked their lives to cross the U.S.-Mexico border from their homeland in search of the American dream. You can't go to the police because anything you tell them gets back to the gang members, this man, who we're not identifying, said. He told us his younger brothers, 20 and 27, were gunned down in front of their church after refusing to work for a local gang. Their own mother witnessed the shooting. Cristian Gomez came as an unaccompanied minor. During his journey from Honduras, he was kidnapped. They threatened to kill us, he told me. It was in Mexico. They took all of our money, then left us in the middle of nowhere. Gomez is now under the supervision of Pastor Arias as he fights to remain in the U.S. The pandemic has exacerbated inequities across Latin America. The desperation depicted in this video of 2 toddlers from Ecuador who were tossed over a border wall. Then there was this child left wandering alone in the Texas border. Pastor Arias says more needs to be done.
This country have a space. I think that we need to feel more compassion, more love, more open our arms to welcome these people.
President Biden has promised to act in a big way on immigration, but activists say that while Mr. Biden has been bold in his words, he hasn't been bold in his actions. While minors are no longer turned away, the U.S. still turns away most asylum seekers due to Title 42. Just last week, the administration was criticized for keeping the same cap of refugees at the level set by the Trump administration, which is a historic low. After criticism, the Biden administration announced that in mid-May, they plan to raise the cap. I'm Christian Benavides.